Off, gossip ending, please take your seats. We've lost the audience, they've gone dark. Anyway, welcome please to the satire session. We have 4 leading humorists or satirists. We can go into which, or is the distinction between the two in a minute. We've got Moni Mohsin and Butterfly, clutching her butterfly. We have Shehan with his Chinaman, sitting with his rather new cover. That was the girl. We've got Mohmmed Hanif with LLF Party. Home team, home team. And Shazaaf Haider, the new kid on the block. We don't get screams like that in Jaipur. So, satire, great tradition of humor when you can't say it straight. How do you tell a story? Do you cry or do you instead laugh? We have this great tradition from Swift. I don't know whether there is a tradition of satire in Urdu. We can discuss this in a second, how far there is an Urdu satirical tradition. What we plan to do in this session is to go around the panel, starting with Moni, working way around, to discuss what is satire, how far they see their work as satirical or humorous, or neither even, and how far they just be put on a panel by the organizers and have to brave it out. What I think they're going to do is each describe their work, do a short reading, and then we'll go into a bit of Q&A from the issues that emerge from that. Moni, would you start? And do you consider yourself a satirist? Start with the column in the paper, or did that precede the novel?
That preceded the novel, yes. But then I wanted to write a novel about the situation in Pakistan, about how people live in Pakistan, how people see themselves in Pakistan. But I thought I'd write a person, and I said, but sometimes you have to have a narrator who sees only something, and that helps. Because then you can focus on the things that are not being seen. And that silence sometimes is more, it speaks volumes, it's telling something.
Several of the characters at the centre of the books are in some ways marginal. Yours is 50, yours is gay, yours is a drunk.
Mine's an airhead.
Yours is just an airhead, yeah. She's just sort of challenged in general.
Yes, but she's nonetheless a witness for her time. And she's slightly cross-eyed, just because she's a witness. And
are your readers from the same world as Butterfly, do you think? I mean, are there many butterflies reading Butterfly?
There are no butterflies from Butterfly. None at all. Because people keep coming up to me and saying, I know who this story is about. It's about so-and-so. I know. And I think people...
Like us.
And there's actually only one person in the whole of Pakistan who once met me, who's read my books and who met me and said that the story was about us. But otherwise it's always about somebody else. And that's, I think, how people also read satire. It's always about somebody else. It's not about you. And that gives them the distance, the same sort of distance when they're writing.
We have a reading.
Yes. This is from Tenterhooks, and the news that day was that terrorists strike three law enforcement facilities in Lahore. And there was another little headline which caught my eye, which would also catch the butterfly's eye, which was Pakistan diplomat in India dies of electric shock. So here it is for the 17th of October 2009. Honestly, the sitch is so bad, that don't even ask. No water, no electricity, no security, and no schools. Every day bombs bursting everywhere and people dying like flies. Just today the weirdos attacked the police training center inside Lahore. Not some faraway place in the frontier like Peshawar or Swat, or even not so far away as Rawalpindi, but in Lahore. Okay, it was on the outer skirts of Lahore, in some god-forsaken place called Manawan or something. But still, it was Lahore, my city. Apparently they did the attack in broad daylight. Just came running in, shooting Kalashnikovs, bursting grenades, and God knows what else. What cheeks. As usual, the stupid police fellas didn't realize what was happening at first. And when they finally did, they ran away and hid. But when they finally realized they were going to get killed in any case, they at last started shooting back. Fighting went on for 3 full hours before they were all killed. The terrorists, not the police, thanks God. Well, 1 or 2 policemen were also killed, but mainly non-officer types whose names won't even come in papers. So just imagine all this happening inside Lahore, not 15 miles from where we live. I swear I feel frightened myself in the bazaar in case some mad weirdo arrives and shoots me for buying Western food, like chips, or for wearing Western clothes, like socks. All the time. All the time, I'm looking over my shoulder. All the time thinking someone behind me in a shop or parked besides me on a bicycle in a traffic jam might blow me up. It's been 2 full months since I went to a Wari hotel on the Mall to get my facial. The spa over there is best, now. Anyway, ever since the Marriott was bombed in Islu, I've just stopped hoteling. The only thing I used to still go for was my facial. Now I get a girl to come to the house, but she's not a hatch on the Avari one. And also she has BO. Honestly, what the Talibans have put us through. So when people say Americans are behind all this killing shilling, I say I have to use Estee Lauder products for my facial. And Estee Lauder, everyone knows, is American. So why would Americans put axe in their own foot by causing all the killing in Pakistan, so no one could even leave their houses anymore to get Estee Lauder facials? In any case,
It is satire. Yeah, no, that passes muster. Shehan, you come from another country where journalists can get locked up for writing the truth. They write it straight in the newspapers, where non-fiction is a tricky thing to deal with, and where it may be easier to write it as a novel. I mean, was that one of your considerations in the way you wrote your Chinaman? Or
Well,
was
yeah,
it just you
it's-
wanted to write a novel and the tone that you assumed?
Well, I mean, Chinaman, I don't think this is a satirical novel at all. I think it's intensely serious, realist novel told by a drunk, and that's it's. And the thing is, yeah, in Sri Lanka, it is a bit dodgy if you want to write serious non-fiction criticizing certain aspects of society. But if you, and there's a rich tradition of satire. If you have a puppet who looks like the president chomping on a cigarette that looks like a penis, you can get by scot-free. It's almost like it's not taken seriously because it's so absurd. You get away with it. But also, I think reading, you pick up a Sri Lankan newspaper, which is supposed to be realist, and it reads like an issue of The Onion. In last week, I read that Sri Lanka is now investing in a space program because and this is true, one of the minister's sons wants to be the 167th man on the moon. And they lowered, and this is all serious news reporting, they lowered the price of milk and bread was raised in the last budget, but the tax on racing cars was halved, again because we had one of the minister's sons wants to be F1 driver. And recently, a Buddhist monk was quoted as accusing Muslim pharmacists of selling pills to the Sinhalese that stunt their sperm growth, and hence that's why the Muslim population is growing more than the Buddhist one. So I guess you have to be drunk to read about this or write about this. So I'll just read a small passage, which is, I wouldn't say it's satirical, I think it's very realist social commentary about why Sri Lankans have long names. Right?
I didn't even attempt it. I just
Yeah, you call me Shehan, I noticed that, yes. Sri Lanka is considered the land of long names, long waits, and long promises. But contrary to popular belief, most of the pages in Colombo's phone book are taken up by shorter Portuguese derivatives like De Silva, Herrera, and Fernando. But that said, Sri Lanka has also produced leg spinner Illavella Kankanage Asoka Mudiansalage De Silva. And the Karunatilaka first class player whose name is ARRAPWRRKB Amunumugam. I was gonna type out his entire name, but life is too short. Life is too short, mine especially. When a New Zealand journal who's with a nose resembling the beak of his national bird asked me why Lankans have long names, I told him I would rather have a long name than a long nose. He replied that he'd rather have a long you-know-what. Such is the insightful cricketing analysis that goes on in the press box. As the Kiwi journal whinges on, I point out that John Wright could be pronounced Johanna Warigahata, but that our Sri Lankan names, regardless of length, are pronounced as they are spelled. Most Sinhalese and some Tamil names follow the adjective noun formation. Jayasuriya, victory lion. Guru Singha, learned lion. Ratnayaka, golden captain. Sivanathan, Shiva's general. And Karunasena, benevolent army. The only nation that can rival us for name length is Thailand. In contrast to our adjective noun formulae, names like Thraksina Thrakul Yingyong appear to be harboring full-blown sentences. Side note, Thailand was the only Asian country not to be colonized by the West. They also happen to be the most cheerful, happy-go-lucky, and least sexually repressed nation in all of Asia. this was before the Thai riots happened. So why did a boy named Matthew Pradeepan Sibanathan decide to shed his surname when joining Sri Lankan cricket? I could be wrong, but I suspect it had very little to do with them.
Hanif, you're obviously the most political of the writers here, and particularly in Exploding Mangoes, it fits more into the mainstream of political satire. But do you think of yourself as a satirist or not?
No, I just wanted to write a murder mystery with some dirty jokes. And that's what I did. And it's only like when people kind of started reading and reviewing it, that's when I found out that I was writing satire. Because in Pakistan, yes. Yes, yeah. So in Pakistan, I think we live in kind of some post-satirical kind of society because you can make the sort of the most grim kind of, outlandish joke, and somebody would say, oh, did that really happen? I mean, so that's what goes on, and especially with this book after it came out. Yeah. So when kind of this book came out, yes, there were people who said, oh, this is very funny, this is like satirical. And then there were lots of other readers, and some of them very serious readers, who actually thought that it was all true. And some of them kind of, quite responsible people. In fact, one of the former kind of ISI deputy head type person kind of I ran into at a party, and he took me in a corner, like, sort of hand around my shoulder. My dear son, you've written a brilliant book. Now tell me your sources. I was like, okay. Now that's a bit scary, because this dude was around at the time the book is set in. So you kind of think that, oh, I mean, it doesn't, and lots of people still actually believe that that it's non-fiction. So you can just make up any kind of shit in this country and people will buy it. So you don't really...
But did you get into trouble at all for any of the passages? General Zia's bottom and all that sort of thing? Or?
Who would I get in trouble with? Who cares about General Zia's bottom? Except you, maybe, but I don't.
I went to an English public school.
Yeah, so it is. As one of my genius friends just told me just before this session, and I was asking her, what is satire? And she kind of, Faiza, she's probably here, she kind of said that when you write, when you kind of portray reality kind of slightly worse than it is, people call you a realist. And when you kind of make things look slightly better, people call you romantic. And when you write the way kind of things are exactly, people call you a satirist. So I think that's, and I have kind of experienced a bit of that. Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you mentioned General Zia's bottom. Coincident. I've got the same passage here.
So you care about General Zia's bottom?
So General Zia, I mean, this is post-lunch session. Probably we shouldn't be talking about these things, but hey, anyway. So General Zia sort of developed this condition during his kind of last months of his life. He had this rectal itch, and obviously, like any sensible dictator, he didn't want to show it to his own doctor or any doctor in the country, because then they would talk. So he had this Saudi friend, Prince Naif, who kind of visits him, and like most princes, this guy has his own doctor who travels with him. So Prince Naif is visiting General Zia, and General Zia has this flash of brilliance that he has his own personal doctor. So why don't I get a consultation with him? So here's this little bit about, the doctor's name is Dr. Sarvari for some strange reason. After spending 8 years looking after Prince Naif's libido, nothing about these rulers surprised Dr. Sarvari. They all spend too much time and energy keeping their cocks in shape. If they channeled some of this zeal towards their day jobs, the world would be a much better place. Dr. Sarvary had thought in moments of despair. He had ordered the livers of so many Hubara busters to make aphrodisiacs for the prince. He had rubbed so many ointments made from Bengal tiger's testicles on the prince's member that he himself had lost all appetite for sex. Even his colleagues in the Saudi medical establishment knew his status as a full-time caretaker of the royal member. After all, the prince had his own heart specialist, skin specialist, and even a plastic surgeon on the royal payroll. But what was dearest to the prince's heart was his sexual health, and Dr. Sarvary was the chosen man for the job. The royal dick doctor, they called him behind his back. With this job description, Dr. Sarvary could not be faulted when he shut the door to General Zia's private office and asked, "You want a bigger or you want a longer?" General Zia, who had never heard the doctor speak, was baffled both by his mixture of Arabic and American accents and his strange question. He ignored his hand gestures. Dr. Sarvary was pleasantly surprised when General Zia explained his problem. He smiled for the first time. General Zia was ready when the doctor suggested an on-the-spot probe. He had thought about it so much that he automatically turned his back to the doctor, unfastened his belt, and slipped his trousers down. He could feel movement behind him, then a rubber-gloved hand on his buttocks. "Brother, bend please." General Zia still couldn't get over the man's American accent. He had always heard him speak Arabic with the prince. He put his elbow on the table. "More," the doctor ordered. He put his right cheek on the table and tried to think of something to distract himself. His head was between two flags, Pakistan's national flag, green and white, with a thin right-facing crescent on one side, and on the other side, the flag of the Pakistan Army. He had almost made up his mind to reverse the crescent on the national flag after an Islamic scholar pointed out that it was a descending moon and not an ascending one. But then his advisors reminded him that the flag had been around for 40 years, and since nobody actually had any problems with the direction of the crescent, it was better to leave the flag alone. He was relieved to feel that the doctor's probing finger was lubricated. Now, I was myself having an examination, not of this sort, with an old doctor, with an old doctor in Karachi. And while kind of, he's doing the stuff the doctors do, he's asking, "Oh, I remember that bit from your book. How did you find out about that?" So it's very difficult to convince people that, sort of writers mostly make shit up. I mean, that's why they're called writers.
Shazaaf, from political satire to more family-based satire, almost all the reviews of your book use the A word, the Jane Austen comparison. Is that something you bristle against? Or,
if you compare me favorably to Jane Austen, sure, but it's a very intimidating comparison. Plus also the fact that the themes are practically the same, but the treatment of those is completely different. So I think, please don't insult Austen. Yes.
So to talk about the book, about it's a matriarch trying to marry off.
Yes. It's basically a story about a Shia Sayyid family, and they have done things in a particular way for generations, and there have always been arranged marriages. And what happens here is that, there's a grandmother who wants to marry her grandchildren off in a particular way, except the grandchildren are not cooperating and they have their own ideas. और जब शिया सैयद फैमिली में कोई सुन्नी एलिमेंट आ जाता है तो जो fireworks होते हैं, तो I think that's what I've written about.
Do you want to read?
Sure. Well, this is a passage from the point where Dadi is trying to find a girl for her grandson Harun, and she basically is trying to figure out what, actually she's not trying to figure out, she knows what the recipe for the perfect girl is. And this is told by the other sister, Saleha, who is grandmother's pet. And this is a a passage that tells you about the perfect girl, or Dadi's recipe for the perfect girl. There was a checklist by which Dadi made her choice. It was a series of rules and regulations that the potential candidate had to fulfill in order to be considered suitable. 1. She must be fully female. I thought Dadi was pointing out the obvious, but was informed that in these days of confusion, even gender and sexuality must be clarified. The end of the world was coming, and this needed to be mentioned at the very outset. Number 2, she must not be what Dadi called the lesbian. Number 3, she absolutely must be a Sayyada. We Bandians, which is the name of the family, we Bandians are Sayyads, and therefore we will not despoil our blessed blood with the offspring of anyone less exalted. Number 4, she must be a full virgin. Girls who have been kissed or who have had boyfriends, shoyfriends are only half or quarter virgins, depending on the enthusiasm with which they partook of these scandalous pursuits. Next, she must be qualified to get a good job. Next, she must not want to get a good job. What are men for? Next, she must be from a decent family. Next, she should have studied in an all-girls school, since this would mitigate the chances of her having any boyfriends. Next, she must be shorter than Harun. She must have long, silky, thick hair as opposed to the curls that Harun Bhai had. We don't want the Bandian offspring to sport afros, thank you very much. She must not, under any circumstances, be fat. She may be well endowed, but being well endowed is not the same as fatness. She must dress well. She should not cover head or wear a burqa like a fundo. Neither should she be so liberal that we are forced to stare at her cleavage all day long. A balance between modesty and modernity is a must. And needless to say, she mustn't be anything but dazzlingly fair.
Moni, when we were discussing this in the green room, you said that people particularly asked you whether you were going to write something serious next.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. I think, as Hanif was saying, I'm writing about hyper-reality. People keep saying to me, when are you going to write something serious? I think I write serious stuff. And I think if you call me a satirical writer, then satire is serious stuff. Just because it's funny doesn't mean it's not serious. I think people sometimes make that they make that sort of there's a misapprehension in their minds about seriousness of something and whether you can laugh at it or not.
Does it make any difference to you sitting in London and writing about the war at a distance?
It does. I would much rather be here to write about it because the material is here, there's freshness here, there is a...
You hear things at parties. I won't say literary festivals, but...
I hear about parties mostly, even when I lived here, I heard about them secondhand. But it's the lingo, you know, the words which are familiar at that time. The cheeks, the background, the bahi, yes. Words like that which, you know, when you're out of circulation, you don't hear them. You also get what people get completely obsessed by when you are outside.
You come here for refresher courses. You go to parties you otherwise wouldn't have gone to.
No, but let me give you an example. When I was about 2 years ago, I was in London, and there was a huge tussle between the Supreme Court, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the President. And it was about who has greater authority. And there were also some drone attacks were happening, and that was all that was being reported in the Western press. And I came here, and it was in February, and I went to my hairdresser, and the two girls who were, there was one girl, because lovely labor intensive practice, and I had two people doing my hair that day, and one was holding the brush and one was holding the blow dryer. And they were talking to each other, and they said, आपने ले लिए वो फिर chocolate heart? Have you bought the chocolate hearts? हाँ. And she said, मैंने तो roses भी लिए, red. And then this conversation went on and on and on, and I discovered that it was about Valentine's Day. And then the whole country was fixated by Valentine's Day. There were, and you know, this you don't get when you're sitting abroad, that actually what are people really thinking about? They're not thinking about us as Azari, they were not thinking about the Supreme Court, they were thinking about Valentine's Day. And the mullahs, in fact, were thinking about it the most, because they were running around threatening people with death and dire consequences if they so much as sent off a letter or had a, you know, or bought a chocolate heart or a red rose, unless it was to be sent, unless it was to be utilized at a grave or something. So those things you mentioned.
In Sri Lanka, just recently, the Marxist Party had a Valentine's Day rally. And yeah, I kid you not, and it was the heart with the hammer and the sickle. And, I kid you not.
So you can write about reality and be called a satirist.
But do you also find people wanting you to be more serious, or?
Well, I mean,
And is humor regarded in a sense as a lesser calling than the serious novel?
I think it's safer that that this had a kind of a drunken tinge on it, because there's a bit about politics, and there's a few controversial bits that I get into, but it does not get noticed because I think you dismiss it as a drunk comic novel, and I think it's safe to not come across as serious, because when you come across as a serious social critic, then you get scrutinized. But if you're just writing bawdy comic stuff, then no one thinks that, well, the people who could do harm to you don't take it seriously.
Do you have examples in Sri Lanka of novelists being portrayed, or is it mainly journalists?
Mainly, I mean, also, I mean, the game that we're playing, Sri Lankan writing in English, it's such a minority sport that, it hasn't come to that yet. In terms of journalists from all walks of life, all languages,
We had in Jaipur this year Tahab Jalun, who's fantastic, humorous Maghrebi, and he was saying that the Arabic secret police are the only police in the world that have a particularly literary department. And he said they're the most literate police in the world. They comb novels and haul in. But if he writes in French, he's fine. Is there an Urdu tradition? Manto? Manto kind of satire?
Brilliant, as Moni would know, is a brilliant Punjabi satirical tradition. So it's kind of bizarre that we have this festival in Lahore, and they can't find a single Punjabi writer worthy of being at the festival. But there is a very, very strong satirical tradition in Punjabi. I mean, most Punjabis cannot, hold a conversation without cracking 3 jokes. I mean, in this hall, I don't know, you guys are too posh, so you probably didn't come, or young. But for 3 years, there was this play running here, like one play running for 3 years. That must have been like some kind of record for Pakistan. It was called Shartiya Mitte. It was in Punjabi. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I'm sure I've nicked lots of jokes from that play or from other stuff that I've heard. Because what do people do? They just stand on a street corner and crack jokes, because there's not much else to do, frankly. You know?
No, but also we have professional joke makers, professional satirists called Barnes.
They still survive?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, they're much fewer now.
Yeah, but I mean, now, I think by now the whole nation is turned. Because sometimes you're so helpless and in such a kind of, state of despair that there's nothing else to do except, make a grim joke, or as somebody was saying, laugh in the dark, and kind of, the dark keeps getting darker, and laughter keeps getting louder. So we'll see who wins.
Laughter keeps getting more hysterical.
Hysterical. So we'll find out who wins in the end, I guess.
Do people aim jokes at the religious establishment? Sammy jokes or anything?
Yeah, I mean, they used to be I mean, that's where most of our traditional humor came from, because if you couldn't make fun of a mullah, what was his purpose? Like, you know, that's why he was.
Dalrymple is full of.
Yeah, that was his basic kind of. Well, that was one of his functions in society, that you could make fun of him. But now they kind of, you know, I don't know if you make a joke about Malik Ishaq, anybody's going to laugh, not laugh. I don't know, sort of, yeah. Yeah, I mean, serial killer jokes are not very funny, especially people kind of, you know, who have suffered.
I think probably the moment has come to throw the, we have the house lights on and throw the discussion open to the audience now. House lights? No? Anyone there? Well, you, you can stand up and shout from the audience until the technical people spot you. Oh, there we go.
Oh, so many people.
We have we've got an audience. Did you know they were there? Okay, someone.
Hello. I have a question for Mohmmed, Hanif specifically. How do you feel about the fact that most of your readers in Pakistan are people who have copies of your pirated books instead of the original ones? And they love you. We all love you.
No, I myself bought like at least 3 different pirate copies. I think it feels nice. Somebody's making a living, somebody wants to read a cheaper book. I know publishers and booksellers hates that kind of thing, but I think it's great. I mean, it's a compliment, no? Somebody's making a living. Somebody's making a living stealing for stuff. I think.
Arundhati Roy told me that she gets a Christmas card each year signed from the pirates. That means they're Christian pirates.
Yeah.
So.
Hi. The Zia era has an undeniable influence in our satire today. What do you think in the years to come, in the next 20 or 30 years, what will our future generation find funny about today? How will today shape satire 20 or 30 years in the future?
Moni, I think, would.
I think you.
Moni knows.
I
think
think
you know. Come
I
on,
don't
tell
live
us.
here. Maybe Shehan can tell us because he is an outsider.
Shazaaf is the youngest one. I mean, I don't really know. I hope we all live.
You better go and write it yourself, sir.
I hope we'll be here to write and you'll be here to read. That's all we can say.
Yeah, we'll be here at the 20th Lahore Literary Festival, kind of recycling old jokes. That's cool.
Hello, my name is Suhail. Question is to Mohmmed Hanif. Is anger a motivating factor behind satire, behind writing satire?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Is anger a factor, a motivating emotion behind writing satire?
Yes. I mean,
That's
Rage.
yeah? Rage, yeah. Yeah, impotent rage, I would say. But yeah.
Helplessness. Yeah. They say that satire is the weapon of the helpless. You only feel strong and powerful when you're writing. But in real life, you don't have that much faith.
I have a question, not particularly for anybody on the panel, you can all take it. I've seen that if you target someone specifically, like Moni's been talking about, that there's a lot of people who come up to you and say that, I know who you're writing about. But if somebody you know, or if somebody identifies themselves within your body of writing, and they're portrayed in a less flattering light, has this ever happened to any of you? Has any one of them come up to you and said that, meet me out back, or have a few words with you?
Sorry, what is that?
Just want to ask if, you've met any one of the people that you've portrayed in an unflattering light, and whether they've asked you to step out back for a...
I don't think I should answer this question. No, I haven't yet, but it's 4 weeks into it, so I might just, yes.
I think people don't want to see themselves in unflattering.
Yeah.
It's because I was worried about this because I've got quite and very thinly disguised cricketers throughout the book. And when it came to be published, I asked that question: can we get into trouble for this? And well, one, and I said this before, one lawyer said, well, libel is a very tough thing to prove, and also getting sued is awesome for book sales, so it could work. But also for someone to do that, they have to say, okay, that hard-drinking, womanizing, cheating cricketer was me, and no one is prepared to do that.
I did receive once like a half-hearted threat from General Zia's son. He's been in the kind of in and out of government forever.
How did it come?
Yeah, he through a journalist, as most threats come, like, you know. So he said, oh, I haven't read the book, but my wife has, like a true Pakistani husband. He kind of made his wife read the book and then formed an opinion based on that. And he said, go and tell him, go and ask him that if my father was alive today, then I would see how he dared write that book. And I said, he's absolutely right. I won't.
Yeah, I think, sorry, just to add to that, I think Anne Lamott, the American novelist, she said, yeah, if you want to slag off someone, well, I think she was referring to men, she said, if you want to slag off someone, go ahead, just give him a very small wiener, and he will never, accuse you.
Moni, Mohsin, you said that just because something is funny doesn't mean that it's not serious. So as a question to all of you, what is it about humor that helps you make a point more effectively than if you did it newspaper? Thank you.
Ready to start?
The one thing that that humor does is sometimes to illustrate how ridiculous things are. And if you do that straight, you can't really see it. It's only when you see, you can read it in a newspaper and you can think, yeah, that's really ridiculous. But it's when somebody like Shehan picks it up and forces your attention to it in a particular way that you realize how silly these issues are. I think that is what humor does best, what satire does best. Not just how silly they are, but how worthless they are and how dangerous they are. I think that's my response.
Well, the thing is, I tried writing it very straight. I wrote it in the third person, the first draft, as a biography, and it just I couldn't make it work, especially the false stories, and it just, and I was getting bored with it. And I think for me, when it came alive was when I got the drunk to tell it. Because when you get a drunk telling your story and you have him making sarcastic comments, you're allowed to stretch the truth, and it becomes a lot more palatable. And I don't think it would have been possible to write this book without you.
Yeah, and the research. Imagine if your narrator is drunk, the amount of research you have to do. That's an added
It was grueling stuff.
What time of day did your research begin?
Between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. Yeah.
No, and also, I mean, I read somewhere that humor is like satire is a sugar-coated pill. It's effectively medicinal, and the fact that it's easy to swallow, hopefully some people will learn that, okay, it's like showing you a mirror to yourself and saying, yeah, we did that, but okay, we're laughing at everyone else, that's fine, but now after this, hopefully, if you have enough awareness, you won't do something that is ridiculous, that you hadn't realized is ridiculous, unless the satire hadn't pointed it out.
I think also what we said earlier here was about how when because you always distance yourself from satire because you don't want to accept that it's about yourself, it allows you to read and see from a distance, and then that distance gets narrowed, because if it was straight, you just throw the book away and say, don't read this. But satire just somehow or the other makes it more palatable.
I'll bet it. I've actually now forgotten my point. So there's no point.
Okay, I've also forgotten, but since we were talking funny, serious, funny, and I don't really know what the debate is. But tomorrow it's 9:30, I think in this hall or the other hall. I have written a little pamphlet which everybody's been telling me is very serious. It's called The Bloach Who Is Not Missing and Others Who Are. So please, if you can get up 9:30, some of you, please do turn up.
that actually satire doesn't have to be funny. It can be pretty blistering. And so the role of humor is to make it gentle, but sometimes a lot of satirists write stuff which is pretty damning. And I recently saw a play, and it was staged by the students of IB. It was brilliant. It was called Kutta. I don't know the name of the playwright, unfortunately, but it was allegorical, and it was basically about the bomb that was the Kutta, and it was being made a dog out of everyone. But it was so funny that often the humor was taking away from it, and at the end of the play, the character, just the dog, looks at the audience and says, "Tum log abhi bhi has rahe ho, abhi bhi has rahe ho," and us par bhi, then they started laughing even more, and that moment was not a comic one; it was a really tragic one. So that is another form of satire. I think we're all trying to create humor, but real effective satire, I think it's braver and it's more direct and it's harder to take. But that is also satire, you know?
I am Anwarul Haq. I am an assistant professor of English, and I do creative writing for English Literary Society. It is said that a satirist is a moralist. How can be a satirist is a moralist, particularly in our contemporary times? My question is to Mohmmed Hanif.
Moni.
Yes.
I think he meant to say Moni.
आपका तो उन्होंने नाम लिया है आपको तो नाम से उन्होंने कहा है नाम से
Pass the question to lady. You may do it.
Yes, I need help.
It's your treat.
Is Return of a King satirical? Like, is your book? Have any of your books been satirical?
For me?
Yeah.
I write non-fiction.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right, and we kind of need to think more about it, and we don't. Yes, we are kind of, we engage with the world that we live in, and we should kind of, engage a bit more.
We've got time for one or two more questions.
Yeah, Willie.
Lady here.
Thank you very much.
This is Jugnu Mohsin.
Hi, Jugnu.
Hi, everyone.
It's a family affair.
Yes. As a satirist of long standing, a satirist of about 22 years standing, I just want to say one thing, that to Hanif, Moni, everyone else here in the hall, that satire is a way of speaking truth to power. In Pakistan it has been, I found that. And it's a way of making the very powerful seem human. It's a way of speaking to them when all else is silence or there is a lot of silence around, to crack their egos, to challenge them, to speak for those who don't have a voice, and to make them look human, fallible, and those that we can question, and those that we can bring to count. And I think satire helps people do that in times that are politically disappointing or politically difficult. And I think that is one of the prime uses of satire in countries which are authoritarian.
Anyone not from Moni's family? What do you ask?
I would like to, yes, absolutely, that's absolutely right. And also, I think when you read a Shakespeare play, the Joker plays that role, that, he has license. But one thing that I've noticed, and I may be wrong, is that there is a difference between satire and teasing. When you spoof something, you parody something, that's just for the sake of humor, Satire sometimes has to go deeper than just teasing and just for getting a few laughs. It has to bother you a little bit also, which I think is a problem. Yeah.
Any last one? We've got time for one more. Yeah, front here. Wait for the microphone, sir. Okay, scream. People you've written about, which communities are best about taking jokes? Is that?
Oh, is that me?
Anyone, let's start.
No, let's start.
Moni.
Think about it.
I've only ever written about the Hollywood story. And they've been very kind. They've been very generous. And they're unknowingly laughed at themselves. And you asked earlier whether anybody's ever taken issue with what we have written. The only time that somebody has actually come up to me and said something was when this lady took me aside and said, "आपने अपने कॉलम में लिखा है कि मेरी से क्यों आती है?" And I said, "नहीं जी, मैंने तो किसी का नाम लिया था. I'm sorry. So it was just a generic thing." But otherwise, people have been very generous and very understanding.
Sri Lanka, it's one thing I've noticed about our humor is when you have racist jokes in other cultures, you're always picking on some minority. With us, it's the Englishman, the Irishman, and the Sri Lankan. And the Sri Lankan is always the butt of the jokes. Back in the olden days, when Donald Bradman used to come and tour, people would flock to the stadium just to watch our guys getting thrashed. And they'd watch Donald Bradman hitting our guys and hoot at the guy running after the ball. But I think in terms of communities, the burger community, that's the Eurasian community, and you don't hear much about the Eurasian community because perhaps they are not beating each other up and planting bombs, so you don't hear much about them. But they tend to be the ones who are able to laugh at themselves and write stuff that is very unflattering but very hilarious.
I don't know who the best is, but I know who the worst is. They're usually journalists. They tend to take themselves very seriously. I am one, so I know.
What about the Fujis? What about the army?
Shehan's book, by the way, has the best ever Javed Miandad joke. I don't think he's read the book, but you guys must check out his book. It's brilliant.
The Fujis, how are they taking jokes?
They think, as I mentioned earlier, all they want to know is that, how did I get this information?
I still have to give an answer. I actually think we underrate ourselves quite a bit and we say, "Haan, Pakistani." What I was told was that when you write this book, be very careful because people are going to jump down your throat, and I don't think that hopefully will happen. But the thing is that, we are actually very good at making fun of ourselves. And we have a great sense of humor. Pakistanis have a fabulous sense of humor. So I think that everybody will take it.
After all, it's the 7th most intelligent nation on the earth, no?
On that note, please rise to your feet and thank Moni, Mohsin, Shehan, whatever it is, Hanif, and Shazaaf. Next up here, in quarter of an hour, National Narrative with Basharat Peer, Om Bennett Jones, Sarah Singh, Urvashi Battalion, and Khalid Ahmed.